I never thought the words, "you're no longer family," would come from my own son's mouth. But before I take you to that painful Christmas dinner, let me tell you how it all started. I'm Robert, a 67-year-old retired engineer. My wife passed away 5 years ago, and since then I've been clinging to the one thing that kept me going, my son, David, and his growing family. Christmas had always been our thing. My wife loved the season, and we carried her traditions every year. The big feast, the tree covered in ornaments from decades ago, the same playlist of carols that scratched on the old stereo. But this Christmas felt different. The invitation came late. Usually David's wife, Melissa, would call me in November, but this time it was just a quick text. "Dinner at our place, 7 p.m. Bring dessert if you want." That "if you want" stung. I brushed it off. Maybe they were just busy. But deep down, a small voice whispered, "Robert, something's wrong. They don't want you there." When I arrived at their house, I immediately felt it. Laughter poured out of the living room, but when I walked in with my dessert, the air shifted. Melissa looked at me as if I was the intruder, not the guest. And David, he barely made eye contact. Still, I tried. I smiled, hugged my grandchildren, and pretended everything was normal. But as the dinner unfolded, the cracks grew wider. When dessert was finally served, Melissa leaned toward David and whispered, loud enough for me to hear, "Why is he even here?" My heart froze.
Melissa's whisper cut through me like a blade. Why is he even here? It wasn't just the words. It was the way David didn't correct her. He didn't defend me. My son, the boy I had raised with every ounce of my strength, sat there in silence. I tried to steady my fork, but my hand shook. I looked at my grandchildren, little Emily with mashed potatoes on her cheek, and Jacob playing with his toy car under the table. They were my world, the only reason I tolerated Melissa's constant coldness toward me. I thought maybe David would at least look my way, give me some reassurance. Instead, he cleared his throat and said, "Dad, we need to talk about something." The entire table went silent. Even the children stopped. Melissa smirked as if she had been waiting for this exact moment. David continued, "It's not easy to say this, but you're no longer really part of this family. Things have changed. We're starting new traditions. We don't want to keep holding on to the past." His words slammed into me harder than any blow I had ever taken. Not part of this family? I raised him, sacrificed vacations, worked night shifts, skipped meals, just to make sure he got everything he wanted. And now, at 67, after losing my wife, my son decided to erase me like I was some old photograph he didn't need anymore. I felt my face flush hot. My mouth went dry. What are you saying?" My voice cracked like a broken branch. Melissa leaned in, smug and sharp. "What he's saying is that you're holding us back. You cling to the past. We're building our own future. You don't need to be involved anymore. You've had your life, Robert. Let us live ours." Emily tugged my sleeve softly, whispering, "Grandpa, don't cry." That broke me more than anything. I forced a smile for her, though my eyes burned. David wouldn't meet my eyes. He just stabbed at his turkey like it was easier than facing me. The silence in the room was suffocating. I put my fork down. My hands trembled, but my voice came out steady, low. "You're saying, after everything, I don't belong anymore?" David hesitated for a moment. For a brief second, I thought I saw guilt flicker across his face. But Melissa squeezed his hand under the table, and he nodded. "Yes, Dad, that's exactly what I'm saying." At that moment, I made a decision. I didn't shout, I didn't beg, I didn't argue. Instead, I smiled. A slow, unsettling smile that made Melissa's smirk falter. Because what neither of them knew was that I had been keeping a secret. And this Christmas was the night I was finally going to reveal it.
The table went silent after my smile. Melissa looked confused. David shifted uneasily, and the children looked at me like they sensed something was about to happen. I leaned back in my chair and took a sip of water, slow and calm, though inside my heart was pounding like a war drum. "You know," I said softly, my voice carrying through the tense air, "it's funny. I came here tonight thinking this would be the hardest Christmas without your mother, but it turns out it's not the hardest at all. It's the most revealing." Melissa rolled her eyes. "Please spare us the sentimental nonsense. David's made his decision. We're moving forward without all this baggage." She gestured at me like I was nothing more than an unwanted box left in the garage. I let out a chuckle. "Baggage, huh? That's an interesting way to describe the man who gave you this roof over your head." David's eyes snapped up at mine. Melissa froze. "What are you talking about?" David asked, his voice cautious. I folded my hands. "Steady now. You think this house belongs to you. You think your little new beginning means you can shut me out. But David, this house, this land, the deed is all still in my name. Your mother and I never transferred it to you. You've been living here under the roof of the man you just said isn't family anymore." Melissa's smirk vanished, replaced with a shade of pale that spread across her face. She turned to David sharply. "Is that true? Tell me he's lying." David's lips parted, but no words came out. He had always assumed, like Melissa, that when his mother passed, everything went to him automatically. He never bothered to check. He never asked. I could see the panic building in his eyes. I pressed on, my voice calm, measured, but sharp like broken glass. "And you know what's even more interesting? The will your mother left? She didn't divide everything between you and me. No, she left instructions, specific instructions, ones you clearly never bothered to read." Melissa slammed her hand on the table. "Enough of these games. You're bluffing." But she was wrong. Dead wrong. I slowly reached into my coat pocket and pulled out a folded envelope. It was worn with age, the handwriting on the front still delicate and elegant. "This," I said, holding it up so everyone could see, "is your mother's final letter. And it's time you both learned what she really wanted for this family." The children leaned forward, wide-eyed. Melissa looked like she might faint. David whispered, "Dad, what do you mean?" I placed the envelope on the table, right between the turkey and the untouched cranberry sauce. And I said the words that would change everything. Your mother didn't just leave me this house. She left me something else. Something that decides the future of this family. The envelope sat on the table like a live grenade. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Melissa's hand trembled slightly as she clutched her wine glass, her eyes darting between me and David. I ran my thumb across the flap, remembering the night your mother, Clara, had given it to me. "One day, they'll need to hear this from you, not me," she had whispered, with that quiet strength only she had. And now, here we were. I opened it slowly, letting the silence stretch. The sound of tearing paper was louder than any of us expected. "Dad, what is this?" David asked again, though his voice cracked now, almost like the little boy he used to be when he was scared of thunderstorms. "It's your mother's will," I said, my voice steady. "Not the legal one the lawyers handled. This is her true will, her heart, her words for this family." I unfolded the letter, the handwriting looping across the page in her familiar cursive. My throat tightened, but I forced myself to read aloud. "My dearest family, if you are reading this, it means I am no longer with you, but I pray you are together, holding each other tight,
remembering that love is stronger than pride. David, my son, you are headstrong. You always have been. But don't let that strength turn into arrogance. Remember where you come from. Remember who gave you everything. Melissa, I welcome you as my daughter, but I ask this of you. Never forget the difference between sharing a family and taking it for yourself. Love builds. Greed destroys. And to my husband, my partner in every struggle, I trust you to do what is right when the time comes. I leave you the house, the land, and everything we built, not because I don't trust David, but because I do. I trust that he will teach him the value of what he so easily takes for granted. When the day comes, remind them, family is not about who deserves gifts or who holds power. Family is about love, and if love is absent, then there is nothing. I cracked at the last words. For a long moment, there was only silence. Melissa's face was frozen, her lips pressed tight. David's eyes brimmed with tears, though he blinked them away quickly, ashamed to let them fall. You see, I said, folding the letter carefully, your mother wanted me to protect this family from itself. She saw what was coming long before either of you did. Melissa scoffed, though it lacked the sharpness she usually had. So what, you get to control everything? That's what this is about? I fixed my gaze at her. No, it's not about control. It's about respect. It's about remembering that you don't push away the very foundation of what gave you this life. Without me, without your mother, without family, none of this exists. David finally spoke, his voice breaking. Dad, I didn't know. I thought, he trailed off, unable to finish. I leaned forward, my tone turning sharper now. You thought you could throw me away like last year's wrapping paper. You thought family was something you could vote on, erase with a single cruel sentence. But your mother gave me this letter because she knew one day you'd need a reminder of who you are and what you owe. I placed the folded letter back in the envelope and looked him dead in the eye. And now, David, I need to tell you the part of her will I didn't read aloud. The part that changes everything about your future. Melissa gasped. The kids looked terrified. David swallowed hard. What do you mean? I leaned in, lowering my voice so they had to lean closer to hear. She didn't just leave me this house. She left me the power to decide who inherits it next. And right now, that isn't you.
The air grew so heavy it felt like we were all drowning in it. The letter trembled slightly in my hand, not from fear, but from the weight of what I was about to say. David stared at me, his jaw tightening. Dad, what are you saying? That you disinherit me? Your own son? I looked him straight in the eyes, unflinching. I'm saying your mother trusted me to decide. She knew you might forget where you came from. She knew pride could blind you. And tonight, I gestured toward him, toward the half-empty glasses, toward Melissa's smug but fading expression. You proved her right. Melissa's eyes widened, then narrowed into slits. You wouldn't dare. You'd leave your son with nothing over one dinner argument? That's pathetic. Pathetic? I leaned back in my chair, my voice low but sharp. Pathetic is calling the man who raised you, who sacrificed everything, no longer family, in front of his grandchildren. Pathetic is thinking love and respect can be revoked like a subscription service. David's lips pressed into a thin line, his face reddening. For the first time in years, I saw guilt flicker across his eyes. I slid the letter across the table toward him. Read it again if you don't believe me. Your mother didn't mince her words. She gave me the authority to pass this house, this land, this legacy to whoever honors it. And right now, son, that's not you. Melissa scoffed, but there was a nervous tremor in her voice. "You're bluffing. You'd never cut him off. You can't. He's your only son." I allowed a small, bitter smile. "Melissa, I have plenty of options. Nieces, nephews, even charities that would value this inheritance more than someone who sees me as a burden." David slammed his fist on the table, startling the kids. "Stop it! You can't just dangle this over my head like some punishment." I leaned forward, locking eyes with him. "I'm not dangling, I'm deciding. And right now, the decision is very simple. If you believe I'm not family, then you don't deserve the family's legacy." The words hit him harder than I expected. His shoulders slumped, his eyes glossed over, and for a moment the confident son who had banished me with cruel words was gone. In his place, I saw the boy I once carried on my shoulders, the boy who used to say, "Dad, when I grow up, I want to be just like you." And that memory nearly broke me, but I held firm. I pushed my chair back and stood. My voice dropped, calm but deadly serious. "You have one chance, David. One chance to show me you still value what your mother and I built. If not," I looked him dead in the eyes, "I will make sure this house, this land, and every cent of our family's inheritance skips your name forever." Melissa's wineglass slipped from her fingers and shattered on the floor. The kids jumped. David's voice cracked. "Dad, please, don't do this." I paused at the doorway, turning back with the final words that cut deeper than any knife. "I didn't do this, son. You did."
The shattered glass on the floor glittered like ice under the dining room lights. No one moved, not even the children, who sat wide-eyed, sensing something far more serious than a family squabble was unfolding. I stood by the doorway, the silence pressing against me like a 1,000-pound weight. Part of me wanted to keep walking, to leave them in their arrogance, to prove my words weren't empty. But something, maybe my late wife's voice in the back of my mind, kept me rooted in place. "Dad?" David's voice cracked. He rose slowly from his chair, his tall frame suddenly looking smaller, like a boy again. I didn't mean it. You're still family. You'll always be family." Melissa scoffed, rolling her eyes, but even her confidence seemed shaken. "David, don't grovel. He's bluffing. He wouldn't cut his own son out of the will." But David didn't look at her. His eyes were locked on me. "You're not bluffing, are you?" I said nothing. Silence was a sharper answer than any words. David's face fell. His hands trembled as he reached for the letter again, his eyes scanning his mother's words like he was reading them for the very first time. I watched his jaw tighten, his breath quicken. Finally, he slammed the paper down, his voice breaking. "I can't lose this house, Dad. I can't lose everything you and Mom built." I stepped forward, my tone cold but steady. "Then maybe you should have thought about that before telling me I wasn't family anymore. Do you know what those words did to me, son? Do you know what it feels like to be erased by the person you sacrificed your whole life for?" He dropped into his chair, burying his face in his hands. "I was stupid, angry. I let Melissa get in my head. I thought we didn't need you around, that you were just reminding me of how small I was compared to you, but I was wrong." Melissa shot him a furious look. "David, don't say that. He's manipulating you. You don't owe him anything." But David cut her off, his voice sharp for the first time. "Shut up, Melissa. You don't understand. This isn't just about money. This is my father." The room fell silent again. Even Melissa was stunned, her mouth snapping shut. I swallowed hard, my chest tightening. For the first time that night, I saw real fear in David's eyes. Not of losing wealth, but of losing me. "You want another chance, son?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. He nodded, tears brimming in his eyes. "Please, Dad. I'll make it right. I swear. Just don't cut me off. Don't walk away from me." I leaned forward, my voice low but cutting. You don't need to beg me, David. This isn't about words. This is about actions. If you want to prove I'm still family, then show me. Show me that respect isn't something you throw away when it's inconvenient. Melissa paled. David looked down, his fists clenched, his whole body shaken. And then, in front of his children, in front of his wife, my son sank to his knees and whispered the words that shattered me completely. "I'm sorry, Dad. Please, let me be your son again."